And then it's going to get to the point, believe it or not, it's going to be death penalty for how many Sabbath keep? Sunday break? All. Which means you're going to have to leave your country home. And you're going to have to flee to where? Where's the mountains at around here? How far are the mountains from here? How far? You don't know. Now, are we all, let me ask you this. When the Sunday law comes, are we all going to say, look, we're going to meet at State Line at 7 o'clock in the morning. We're going to all come together and we're just going to go to the woods? No. Guess what? I ain't going to see y'all till we get to New Jerusalem. I'll see y'all later, right? I'm all right. Should we take our cell phones with us? No. Why not? You may still have some power and some juice, right? Now, I'm going to ask all pet lovers, do you take your animals with you? No. That's going to probably be hard. Doris says yes. I got 3 cats now. I got 3, Jessica, Spotty, and now we got a new one, Goldie, and stuff like that. Well, I'm, as much as I love them all, I'm leaving them behind. Nah, that cat walked all the way from her house. I don't know. But look at this. Stage 1 of the Sunday law. They're going to say refrain from work on what day? Day of rest, encourage. But what must we do on that day? We must engage in what kind of labor? Missionary labor. They have already talked about a universal day of rest. They've already talked about it. And guess what I found out? You know what I found out? I found out some more stuff that I got to show you. Can I show you? This should be a public policy. Listen to this. A sitting U.S. senator is urging policymakers to get involved in ensuring that people have more time for church and recreation. That's really what he was saying. According to Senator Murphy, this is a Democrat. A what? And you thought it was the Republicans that was going to bring it in. The desire for more leisure ought to be considered a public policy interest of the United States Congress. This is a call being made in a Senate committee to reduce the work week, and one of the justifications is so that people can get back to church on Sunday. Brothers and sisters, that is truly something that we need to, that's something we need to take a look at. All right, look at this. On federally enforced Christianity. What? Federally enforced, isn't that what we've been talking about? Your local Christian what? Do you see that? I see your hand, brother. Listen to this right here. You're sitting at home with your feet what? Your favorite theologian's book in your lap. Your wife is doing something in the kitchen, but you pay no mind. It is the Sabbath, the day of rest. Everyone knows it is a time of rest. No work what? Allowed. He's breaking all this down, and then at the end, hold on. Ooh, oh my, oh my. This thing almost broke my neck on this one. It says, suddenly you hear the screeching of the tires on the street. You look out to see black SUVs parked in front of your house. When you see black SUVs in front of your house, who do you think they are? The police. Your heart sinks. It is the FSE. Do you know what the FSE is? I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay, you know what the FSE is? Oh, okay, let me make it bigger so everybody can see this. It is the FSE. Honey, you're in exasperation. What did you do? I don't know, she exclaims. You look towards the counter. Sweetie, did you turn the dishwasher on? FSE. Open up! Bang, bang, bang! The federal agent opens the door. Unfortunately, you and your sweet wife are too stunned with shock to answer. You stay frozen in fear as the pounding becomes more manic. All of a sudden, the door gets kicked in with guns drawn. Men in black fatigue storm past the splintered remains of the front door and order you on your belly. Put your hands behind your head in compliance as a federal Sabbath enforcement. It's over, y'all. I told y'all. You can't say Pastor Olatunji is crazy. Come on. Federal Sabbath. Did you see that, Doris? It says, put your hands up behind your head in compliance as a, okay, let me get out their way. Federal Sabbath enforcement reads you your Miranda rights. Federal Sabbath. I'm going to keep this. I just found this the other day. And in this, what a modern nation would look like under Christian nationalism. Federal Sabbath enforcement. If the above sounds ridiculous good, that's what I was going for. But my use of satire here is not to poke fun at Christian nationalism critics who are rightly concerned about the role of government, especially the federal government in a Christian nation. Rather, my intent is to show how Christian nationalists will share your concern about the role of federal government in a Christian nation as well. Look at that, federal Sabbath enforcement. This was last year. Look at that right there.
But you know what, even though it's satire,
take it off the screen.
I find it interesting that in that whole thing that it was playing out there, they're saying, oh, honey, you turn the dishwasher on?
Yeah.
But you know they have these smart products now, these smart dishwashers, these smart dryers and washing machines and different things, and refrigerators. So I wouldn't be surprised if they could track what you're doing on these various things. I mean, if they can do it on the phone, they can do it on those things.
And you know what, my brother? It's no different than what happened to the Valdenses. The Valdenses were barged in, they were kicking their doors down. You read in the Great Controversy. I've been in the Valdense Valley and saw how they fled in the mountains and heard a lot of stories from some of the Valdenses that still live, how they came and barged their doors down. Rome would come in and the sieges that they did, and we've read about it. It's the exact same thing that's history repeating itself. Two things that recorded in my mind that I heard one time. Most people will think these two statements. I never thought it would really happen. And the other statement is, I can't believe it's happening. Yeah.
Say that one more time, brother.
I said two statements that most people will say is, I never thought this would really happen. It happens. They're going to say, I never thought it would really happen. We need to get out of the cities, brothers and sisters.
Why? It's going to be an overwhelming surprise. Yes. And, you know, that just shows you what, even though it was satire, that just kind of shows you what the Christian, type up Sabbath laws and Christian nationalism, you'll see a whole lot of articles written on that. Christian nationalism, in the end, wants a Sunday law. Yes.
I was just going to mention that they did the same thing in Germany. It probably wasn't dealing with the Sabbath, but it was still dealing with people, actually their personal private rights being violated and people being routed by Hitler's regime. I mean, private citizens, people getting their doors kicked in, being pulled out of their house, you know, being arrested, being detained. History will repeat itself.
That's right. So listen to this. Right? Now listen to this. We're going to get back to the Sunday thing in a minute, but watch this. I found this week. Let's go to the screen. This is from a Catholic priest. And you know he's only in allegiance to one power, and that is the Pope, right? Listen what he says. Now this lets me know, and I saw this the other day. I was riding down the road. I was like, wow. You know, we take for granted that we preach this every week in peace. But listen to this.
Here's a disturbing trend that you may not be aware of. We are in the midst of a major spike in attacks on Catholics, both physical and political.
Now, let me say this to you. I don't believe in terrorizing anybody. Do you understand this? For any reason. Do you understand this? Even if I disagree with them. Do you understand this? I don't believe in violence or terrorism against any group, religious or non-religious. But he's saying there's an attack on Catholics. Could the third angel's message be looked upon as attacking Catholic people? Definitely. So listen to this.
Let me share a few concrete examples with you. Over the last 3 years, we have seen an assassination attempt on a Catholic Supreme Court justice. We have seen dozens of pro-life activists arrested by the FBI on, let's say, shaky grounds. In the last few years, we have seen over 370 Catholic parishes attacked and vandalized, including my own. My parish, Church of the Holy Family, was targeted by vandals 2 separate times.
And, you know, our heart goes out to that. We don't think anybody should have their church vandalized. We don't support that as Christians. But I want you to hear the backdrop.
They broke in. They trashed the hall. They smashed our crucifixes, and they even tried to topple our statues. Now, we can't say for sure that these break-ins were some sort of targeted hate crime, but they did bring the reality of this anti-Catholic phenomena to my own front door, and they point to a much broader, much darker pattern. When it comes to this rise in anti-Catholic violence, the first question you might have is why? What's the source of all this anger and resentment against the church? Boiled down, the answer is actually pretty simple. Lies.
To call the Catholic Church the beast, to call her Babylon, will be considered misinformation. Would you agree with that, Pastor?
Yes.
Would you agree with that? You can put the mic to your mouth and say it.
That's correct.
Now, he's talking about, I see about the violence against the church, but what happens is violence can be extended beyond. Because what would make somebody do something like that? Because they look at the church in a wrong light. Let's continue to play. I see your hand.
Let me explain. Lies have always been the devil's favorite tool in attacking our church, and you know well the lies. Oh, the church is anti-science. The church is filled with pedophiles. The history of the church is filled with violence against peaceful Muslims and innocent scientists. They fill our heads with these lies. They teach them in schools, and they pass them all off as, well, of course. But now they've been given a new lie to embrace. That Roe v. Wade was overturned because of meddling by Catholics who only want to control women. Now, for whatever part Catholics played in overturning Roe v. Wade, praise God. But let's be clear, Roe v. Wade was bad law from its very conception. The bottom line is, lies do their job. And this new wave of violence is nothing new. So what happens now? Well, the opposition will continue to come at us. And they will come at us with a lot of passion, confidence, and bad information. More physical violence will result against Catholic buildings and Catholic persons. Now, the natural temptation is to hear that and think, well, I'll just keep my head down and hope that the worst of it blows over. But guys, there's a problem with that strategy. If we're living the way we ought as Catholics, the target on our backs is always going to be there, big and red and blinking. Standing for what's right and good means that we will be standing against all that is wrong and twisted, and that makes enemies. Our job is to love our enemies just as hard as we fight their ideologies. Now, it's a hard line to walk, and we're going to have to die to ourselves in the process. But Jesus never promised us ease or comfort. If we gotta bleed, let's bleed for what's right. I'm Father Joseph Krupp from the Diocese of Lansing for Edify. If you liked this
It says anti-Catholicism is on the rise. Take it off the screen, Brother Sean, Brother Richard. All right, anti-Catholicism is on the rise. You can take it off the screen. Before I get to you, brother, my big brother, when you see that, I'm not looking at what he's talking about. I'm looking beyond what he's talking about. What do you see the problem with that is?
Well, the devil is creating a problem to make him look like the villain. He's creating something, right? I should say the victim, I'm sorry. So he's creating this problem that makes him look innocent. And in the name of God, that's why now you have all these artists, all these different people that are coming to Christ. You have these prayer apps. You have all of these things because Protestantism and Catholicism are joining hands. You see it everywhere. And that's exactly what they're playing out right now. Then they have to play that they're being victimized. So
Right.
that by the time that
Right.
that this third angel, like you just said, Pastor, the third angel's message goes out, he said, well, now we know who the problem is. Not only are they not willing to keep the Sabbath, now they're pointing to violence against the Catholic Church.
Right.
At every level, we're going to be targeted.
What do you think of, what problem do you see with this?
When you look beyond the surface, the problem I see with this is it's going to get to the point to where books like The National Sunday Law, The Great Controversy. Those books will be books considered, these books are speaking against, they're attacking the Roman Catholic Church. We cannot have these books here. It's going to be considered hate speech. And so what this Catholic priest is doing here, he's putting, like the elder said, he's making himself out to be a victim. But the reality is, this book, Great Controversy, shows you who the real victims were. See, the Roman Catholic Church is against liberty of conscience. It's against religious liberty. And for years, they persecuted those who wanted to worship God according to the dictates of their conscience. They were the ones. It was a Roman Catholic Church system, not attacking individual Catholics. We know that there are sincere, loving Catholics in the Roman Catholic Church system. But we're talking about the system. And this system persecuted many of God's people who wanted to worship God according to the dictates of their conscience. And they ravaged through their churches and all those various things, took pregnant women, gashed open their stomachs, took the babies and dashed them against the rocks, all different types of cruel things. That's what this system did. And so we know history will be repeated. We're told in Independent Inspiration that this system is like a chameleon, blending in with the times. But when it gets back into power, it will strike with the venom of a serpent.